Y así es, chavitos, brothers y brothercitas. Todavía hoy, 20 de octubre, sigue cerrado el gobierno de Estados Unidos, brothers. Y esto de verdad ya es, alarmante, cansante, agobiante, frustrante, todas las palabras que quieran poner. Es increíble que los demócratas no les interese el pueblo americano, sabiendo que cuando cierran el gobierno, la gente que recibe estampillas de comida y beneficios que necesitan para sobrevivir, esta ayuda que se le da a la gente que realmente requiere ser ayudada, que sus familiares tienen discapacidades, que tienen problemas mentales, problemas físicos, que no pueden trabajar, necesitan de verdad ayuda del gobierno, brothers, y no van a poder ser ayudados por el gobierno, gracias a los demócratas. Mike Johnson, el Speaker of the House, salió a hablar y a poner en su lugar a los demócratas otra vez y a darle a conocer a la gente en realidad, brothers, lo que son.
20 days since the Democrats recklessly shut down the United States government. And the Democrats are making some very costly history here. Don't lose that in all that's happening. This is now the third longest shutdown in history. And when you look at it carefully, it is now already the longest full shutdown of all time. You had an example in 2018 and you had one back in 1995 that were longer, but they were partial shutdowns because they only affected a part of the federal government. This is everything. And it's also important for us to note, this is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. This is a political stunt, and it's the first time it's been done, and it is the most costly, most selfish, most dangerous political stunt in the history of the United States Congress, because as we have stood here day after day after day explaining all the Americans who are being harmed by this nonsense. And the Senate Democrats have zero shame about this. They don't have any shame at all about the pain that they're inflicting upon hardworking families, upon soldiers and law enforcement officers and veterans and the elderly and the disabled and women, infants, and children. Services to all those categories and paychecks to those folks are being stalled because Democrats are playing games. Today, Leader Thune in the Senate will once again bring the clean, nonpartisan CR to the floor for a vote. They will have another chance. Democrats will have their 12th opportunity to pass the bill. It is the same bill that they themselves supported just 7 months ago, and Chuck Schumer gave impassioned speeches on the floor about how it was the only option. And don't forget, they did it 13 times under the Biden administration.
¿Oyeron eso, brothers? Este mismo budget que no quieren pasar los hijos de la chintola de los demócratas, votaron por él 13 veces a favor. El mismo, cuando estaba Biden. La única diferencia del budget es que ahora están aumentando los demócratas 1.5 trillones, nada más, extra, arriba del budget, que es donde Trump dijo ni más, y los republicanos dijeron no se va a hacer, porque quieren hacer y apoyar todas sus causas woke y de transgénero en todo el mundo y en Estados Unidos. Y ya mencioné en videos anteriores, cada una de las causas son ridículas, las causas, y obviamente los republicanos no lo van a aceptar. Y es increíble que estén haciendo esto, manteniendo a los americanos en necesidad, como los mencioné, a los que necesitan estampillas de comida y cosas, que los mantengan como rehenes, casi para que el gobierno diga, órale, ya va, tenemos que seguir ayudándole a esta gente. Está cañón.
Very similar measures, but not now. Something's changed. Over the weekend, we saw what it was all about. The Democrats made crystal clear that this is about politics. The politics were on full display. The politics, the spectacle, is what the mobs, the crowds, the rallies this week were all about. It was quite ironic, though. The irony was very glaring. They called it the No Kings Rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall. Here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch and hand the reins to President Trump. They're decrying the situation that they themselves created. This has always been about the spectacle. Chuck Schumer himself joined the spectacle in New York City. And it's interesting to note his activities there. He was standing side by side some of the most radical groups that maybe ever assembled on U.S. soil. They openly advertised as co-sponsors of the event in New York City. The Communist Party USA, the Democrat Socialist of America, the Freedom Socialist Party, the Young Communist League of New York.
Estos son las organizaciones que sin pena alguna estuvieron patrocinando las marchas de No King este sábado que acaba de pasar, brothers. Si se dan cuenta, son puros partidos socialistas que apoyan el socialismo en Estados Unidos. Algo que mucha gente no puede creer porque ni siquiera lo creen, de que no creen que exista. Y ahí está comprobado, lo están pagando, están patrocinando estas marchas.
Many others. Do we need any further evidence? They're not hiding this. They're out in the open. They're not shy about it.
Yo hace de verdad, brothers, antes de la pandemia, en el 17, 18, yo hablé con un amigo que quiero mucho y le dije, uno de los problemas más terribles que está enfrentando Estados Unidos es que la juventud en los colleges le están inculcando el socialismo, güey. Cuando mi amigo lo oyó, que es un ejecutivo de una compañía muy, muy fuerte, se rió de mí. Se rió de mí, literalmente se rió de mí. Dijo, no, SERRALDE, ¿cómo crees? Eso nunca va a pasar. Aquí no pasa eso, estamos en Estados Unidos. Bueno, pues, ¿cuántos años después? 8 años después. Justamente lo que le dije hace 7. El socialismo está más presente que nunca. Y Nueva York está a punto de elegir a un mayor, a un alcalde socialista al 100%. Ahora, ¿quién se ríe, brother? Está cañón.
Because this is the core constituency of the modern Democratic Party. These are objective facts. Look at what's happening. Open your eyes. It is exactly why Chuck Schumer is pandering in this whole charade. We've explained from the very beginning, this shutdown is about one thing and one thing alone: Chuck Schumer's political survival. Now, I noted on Friday, the lead organizer of the rallies this weekend issued an open threat to Democrats. Quote, "The cavalry is coming in on October 18th, and they're either going to be celebrating with you, or they're going to be calling for new leadership." Now that's a direct threat to Chuck Schumer, and he heard the message. And so did Hakeem Jeffries in the House. And that's why neither of them were here doing their jobs. Instead, they were out in New York and California. They were catering to the same radical base that is just days away from electing an open Marxist as mayor of New York City. And now,
es lo que les acabo de decir.
Chuck Schumer has had his spectacle. He's had his big protest against America. This is our plea. We're asking, and I think everybody in this room and everybody watching, listening to our voices this morning should be hoping that he is finally now ready to go to work and end this shutdown and stop inflicting pain on the American people. Republicans have been working. We are ready. We've been doing this. It's been over a month now. We passed a responsible short-term solution to keep the government open while we just simply finish our work to fund the government openly and transparently, and Republicans are completely united on that front. On the other side, Democrats can't even agree amongst themselves. You got different subgroups among them. You've got a few reasonable Democrats who know shutdowns hurt the people, and they've already voted for our bill. They want to keep the government open. Then you've got others desperate to prop up the failures of Obamacare with no reforms whatsoever to make the program more affordable. That's what we're fighting for. And you've got AOC calling for her own negotiations on live TV, and you've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries still unable to articulate what it is they need to reopen the government.
Solo se necesitan 6 votos demócratas para reabrir el gobierno, en total 60. Tenemos 52 votos republicanos, son 52 senadores republicanos en el Congreso, en el Senado. Faltan 6 porque tienen que ser 60, y esos 6 tienen que ser demócratas porque ya no hay más senadores republicanos, y ningún demócrata quiere votar para pasar este budget, brothers. O sea que por eso es por culpa de los Democrats que está el gobierno cerrado y mucha gente saldrá afectada en el país. Díganme qué piensan, es frustrante, brothers, yo lo sé, por eso hay que compartirlo. Es día con día esto, y bueno, pues los leo en los comentarios, suscríbanse, compartan, hay que despertar ojos, brothers, abrirlos, porque esto tiene que saberse. Y bueno, pues no se les olvide.